So while I have everybody here, I've been looking for a Yu-Gi-Oh deck to play, chat, right? And I don't think I'm gonna keep banging my head into this deck, chat, into the Draco Tail wall, because I'm convinced that this deck just isn't it. Its disruptions are good, they're just not good enough. Yeah, this deck doesn't do enough, in my opinion, to stop modern decks. And I think basically 9 out of 10 times, I think every meta deck will push through this deck's board. Like 9 out of 10. There are no like I went first and I just did what my deck did, so I won. That doesn't happen. If you actually play Draco Tail chat, that doesn't happen with this deck. This deck's board is not strong enough. There are no Omni negations. This card, and I actually thought when I first read this card, I was like, this card's terrible. But then when I saw it in action, I was like, oh, this card's kind of cool. This card doesn't. It does a little on your opponent's turn. It could be a double bounce. The other fusion kind of sucks, to be honest. The Monster Reborns are irrelevant of these cards. The traps are both good, and shoot, what else do I want to say? Even with the new trap, it's probably not enough. This is why you don't play it. But here's the thing, though. The other, and I can't really speak to the Magistus engine because we don't have the cards to make that work, so there's like no point. To me, the engine that makes the most sense, chat, is Shadows. Because Shadow cards, anytime you fuse with them, you just get, you get tangible value from fusing with the Shadow cards. You know what I mean? Like you can, and also you get like an actual win condition of Winda. But anytime, if you send a beast to the graveyard, you just like draw a card. If you send a hedgehog to the graveyard, it's like, cool, I can get a beast for my next fusion. You know what I mean? Either play Yummy, Malice, Mitsu, or Cop deck. So he's talking about K9. Anyways, I don't think that this deck is like good enough, chat. Like, I think it's kind of cute that you can fuse away the Mulcharmy cards if you have a field. Like, that's kind of cool. So I like the idea, chat, that Draco Tail in theory should never have quote unquote dead cards because you could just fuse away anything. You know what I mean? That's cool. But some other decks that I was thinking of, because I was like, yeah, I don't care what this deck does. This deck is just not it for me. And I don't think this deck can ever beat this deck, chat. Like, ever. Like, right now, this is a prime example. He did his entire, well, I mean, he did have Charmy, but like, if your opponent has K9 stuff, they are going to fuck you up so hard that like you're going first and you get like FTK'd by your opponent going second. And this is like, what the fuck? I never want to play that. Voiceless. Look at that. Look, chat. What meta deck does that happen to? The last time that I could think of that was like the last time that I thought that happened, chat, was with Havness. Of like, oh, my opponent Havness me, and then my opponent milled Kelbeck off Havness, which the whole Yu-Gi-Oh community told me, chat, was the fucking greatest format of all time. Where are you at, Jib, by the way? Do you guys remember, chat? I hate to go on a tangent. Do you guys remember when I asked Jib, because Jib and like everyone in Yu-Gi-Oh has been fucking brainwashed by MBT that tier format was the greatest thing in history, right? It was sliced bread. And I was like, are people going to play tier format in 5 years? And Jib was like, yeah, 100%. Is that still true, chat? Are people going to go back to tier? I feel like the answer is no, but maybe I'm wrong. I just wanted to get that out there. Anyways, if your deck can like get FTK, chat, going first, I feel like that's just, it needs to be like super duper duper unlucky, or you just can't play the deck. But like the same thing could happen in this game. Like, you can go for, Draco Tail has to use the graveyard turn 1, because that's just how the deck works. You have to fusion summon. If his opponent has a K9 card, you like lose the game on the spot, and there's no counter to it. Other than, I guess, what sells it said DD Crow. You know, and I can't live like that, chat. I can't go first and get FTK because my opponent opened with like one of 7 cards. Fuck that. That is, again, that's why I think that the K9 cards like ruin Yu-Gi-Oh, but that's just a different thing. They did Nope. Too many get brainwashed nowadays. I'd rather kiss myself than play tier format. Voice, voiceless, right? Dude, I never played it at an event, chat. I love Voiceless Voice. Voiceless Voice is like such a cool deck. Voiceless Voice's board also is not good enough to stop modern Yu-Gi-Oh decks. But Voiceless, man, if Voiceless just had like, the reason Voiceless would actually be better than a deck like Draco Tail into like K9 is because I could just Omni negate your fucking K9 card, right? The second I have, what's his name? The second Skull Guardian hits the field and I get my low back from the graveyard, I can completely invalidate all your K9 bullshit because I have an Omni negate. I could just be like, no, fucking stop. Stop your K9 bullshit. I'm negating it. You know what I mean? And it's not like Voice's Omni negate is insane. It's just one little Omni negate. You know what I mean? But, so some decks that I was thinking of, chat. Play Eldritch, play Yummy. No. There's something about Yummy I don't like, chat. So, I don't know if I ever told you guys this. I am not a fan, chat. Nah, Regenesis ain't it. No. For those of you who don't know, chat, I went through like a 1 week Regenesis phase. That deck fucking sucks. It is just not it. I tried Regenesis with Kashtira, and this is where Therio failed me, chat. I kept opening, and I was like, oh man, I'm getting 3 disruptions every hand. But it's just like, I never took into account, like, okay, if one of these cards is gonna get like ashed, so my 3 disruptions becomes 2 disruptions in like modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Don't expect for your entire board to just go through. Like, your opponent will disrupt one of them. So now I only have like 2 disruptions, and that's just not good enough. So my Regenesis phase is like dead. But some decks that I was thinking about, chat, and I am not open to Eldritch, so don't even mention Eldritch. That deck is not good. I thought about pure Pure Mitsurugi. I thought about playing Pure Mitsurugi, chat. And I'm going to give you a sleeper deck. And you guys just tell me if this is the answer or not. And I was like, this deck seems kind of cool. Like, I know, like, I think a lot of people are probably going to say instantly no. But I'm like, this deck might be it. Hold on. Does he get FTK'd by a random K9 card? Let's just find out. Oh, yeah. Chat, one of like my pet peeves, or one thing that will instantly turn me off about a Yu-Gi-Oh deck, is I'm not a fan of Yu-Gi-Oh decks, chat, that burn through, unless your deck is giga combo, to where like if I combo, you are not breaking my board, period. You know what I mean? Like, I have like 4 Omni negate, kind of how, I don't know, Manadium was. Where Manadium is like, bro, I got an Appaloosa, a Savage Dragon, and a Baron de Fleur, which I don't know if they made that exact board, but decks that had like that, chat, where if you don't have a board breaker, you're not playing through the Triff 7 negates. If your deck is doing that, cool. But if your deck doesn't do that, chat, I'm not a fan of decks that like burn through their entire extra deck turn 1, because it essentially becomes impossible to win the game if you don't win on the crackback. And I understand that's kind of how Yu-Gi-Oh is. You have to kill on the crack, but like, I don't, it's just something about that. It's like, these decks need their extra deck, but then they also burn through 12 to like 13 cards in their first turn, which means like you have no extra deck plays if you don't win immediately. Like, I don't like being boxed in like that, chat. The Yummy deck is that deck. Like, I was watching Triff play on DB Grinder today, and Triff used, if I'm not mistaken, I think he burned through 13 cards. Now, granted, he used Prosperity, but he burned through 13 cards in his extra deck turn 1. And it's just like, okay, if you don't win the game this turn, like, you don't have an extra deck anymore. Like, it's one thing if you have a deck like this, chat, like Versus don't need the extra deck. You can just Caesar and Holly Sue. Like, Versus disruptions, chat, don't come from the extra deck. I can Caesar you an indefinite amount of times. I can Holly Sue steal your shit an indefinite. Like, you can just use like the Versus cards have disruptions in them. Every single one of them except Burger. This has been a thing since Versus first came out, chat. every single monster in Versus has a disruption in it. I don't need my extra deck. Yeah, it's cool to have Rock, but I can just keep on keeping on. By the way, if this player wins this duel, chat, this is also opening double Solemn. Solemns trade well into like any Yu-Gi-Oh deck. So, you know. They recycle stuff, who cares? Wait, what deck are you talking about? So Don, Fire King seems cool, but I don't know. I was theorioing Fire King. Well, first off, you guys told me Fire King is terrible. You know, like first off, the Toxic Fable was like Fire King's not good. But I don't know. I saw a duel of Fire King versus Vanquish Soul, chat, and Fire King looked so fucking outmatched, and I was just like, can you ever beat this deck? I'm not saying that. Let me give you guys a layout, right? I'm not saying, what about pure Vanquish Soul? Even as a Vanquish Soul purist, Don, I just don't understand why you wouldn't run the K9 cards. Like, I hate the design of K9 cards, chat. Like, I've spent a lot of this stream talking about why, but I'm not gonna sit here and be like, these cards aren't good. These cards are stupid in my opinion. I think they're very poorly designed. And I understand what Konami wanted to do, but I just don't think you can do that when you design a game where hand traps have to be played, and then you make these cards that essentially FTK hand traps. You know what I mean? Or you make an entire archetype that FTKs hand traps. But hand traps also like have to be played because of the power ceiling of Yu-Gi-Oh cards. Anyways, so like to me it wouldn't make sense to play pure Vanquish Soul. When you can, Don, let's put it like this. When I can go second against a deck like this, and I can open Azuna and fucking FTK you because I opened one random card, why would I just not want to play that for no reason? Unless you're gonna tell me that they're like, oh Cap, but the K9 cards come with all this downside. Like maybe, but if I can play against a deck that people think is meta, I don't think Draco Tail's meta, and I can open one Azuna and fucking FTK you for free with one card, like there's no way I'm not playing that. You know what I mean? Fire King is worse than Draco Tail. Fire King sounds so cope. They bricky. Thoughts on Dominus Spiral? That's the new. I have to look at that one. Dark Emperor. I saw somebody on Twitter, chat, trying to Therio Trap Tricks, and they were playing like 9 Dominus cards, and that looked kind of cute, but like I don't know if they've actually played that at a tournament or if it was just Therio. But I did see that on Twitter where somebody was playing 9 Dominus cards in Trap Tricks specifically, and I was like,